Hello and welcome to this edition of the Wireless LAN News Desk on February 23rd, 2018. My name is Tom Carpenter. I'm the CTO at CWNP, and I've got several things that I want to talk to you about today. First of all, I want to say thank you to Keith Parsons, Matthew Castile, Fernie, and all the other people at WLPC. It was a great conference this last week. I enjoyed getting a group together to talk CWNE for 3 days and then to be able to participate in and view all the great presentations at the conference. Had a wonderful opportunity to have excellent conversations, interesting presentations, make new friends, and hey, Charlotte of CWNP now has a personal Twitter account thanks to everybody encouraging her to do so at WLPC. So we had a wonderful time there and really appreciate the opportunity. Second in the news, Meraki announced this week that they're releasing a new model of their video camera. The MV12 is an 802.11 AC capable video camera. Now, it's wireless enabled in the fall of 2018, according to their frequently asked questions section. Most people are going to power this device over PoE, so they can run an Ethernet cable to the location of the camera and use PoE through a switch or an injector to power this camera. So let me just say that while it will be wireless capable, I would discourage you from enabling and using it as a wireless client unless it's absolutely essential in your use case. So here we have an example of a device that's powered by PoE and therefore, if connected to a switching infrastructure, has its connectivity to the network through that PoE cable. So we don't want to add it as an additional wireless client if that's the case, even if it does have 802.11 AC capabilities. Now there might be some use case scenarios where it's justified. For example, I'm powering it with PoE, but not into the switching infrastructure. And therefore, I may want to go ahead and use the wireless interface. But let's try to make those the rare use cases for devices like this, and instead take advantage of the PoE and go ahead and run it through the switching infrastructure. The way these cameras work is they go back to the Meraki cloud, and you can view the video feed live through the cloud and also access the archive video storage on the device, which Meraki says can be up to 30 days in most cases and possibly longer depending on motion sensing and other things that might activate the recording mechanism. So, an important lesson from these. If you have a device that supports Wi-Fi, but it's connected by wired connections, you probably don't want to use the Wi-Fi connection because all it's doing is adding activity on the wireless network with no real benefit to you in the end. Interesting device, but let's be cautious about how we implement it. Second in the news this week, we have the Wi-Fi Alliance WPA2 and WPA3. Now, this is not a new announcement this last week, but I did have the opportunity to talk to some people from the Wi-Fi Alliance while I was at WLPC, and also to dig a little bit deeper into the capabilities of WPA2 and WPA3 as we move forward. So the first thing I want to say is that it's very important to know that WPA2 now tests for the crack vulnerability as of November last year. So this means that any Wi-Fi certified device certified after November 2017 has been implemented such that the crack vulnerability is not an issue for them. In other words, they are patched appropriately or they are configured appropriately to protect against this. Now, this is one of the many benefits of the Wi-Fi Alliance. They not only ensure interoperability, and that's what we first think of with them, but they go further than that. Their certifications can evolve as required over time. And that is that then devices and systems that are tested after the release of a new certification may be tested against newer requirements than earlier devices tested against that same certification. Now, this is a good thing. The certifications do not become stagnant, but increase the requirements as time passes to deal with new issues. I, for one, am very happy about that, but I know a lot of people are unaware that that's how it worked. So a device certified for WPA2 or Wi-Fi certified today is not necessarily placed against the same tests as 1, 2, or 3 years ago. Realize WPA2, for example, has been around for well over a decade now. But devices tested today include testing related to the crack vulnerability. Devices tested 3 years ago, of course, did not. So we have that excellent benefit that they evolve over time. Now let me talk a little bit more about WPA2 and WPA3 and what they're bringing to the plate in 2018. So first of all, Wi-Fi networks using WPA2, which is the trusted security technology now for well over a decade, are actually able to provide security to control who connects to the network So they can use pre-shared key, they can use 802.1x EAP authentication, then there's a four-way handshake, and we have encryption keys, we have security. So WPA2 tests against the standard, but it does more than that. The standard doesn't say to protect against crack. In fact, the standard method of implementing the four-way handshake is what made crack a possibility. So Wi-Fi Alliance or Wi-Fi certified devices to WPA2 are now testing against that. So it does go beyond just what's in the standard, not necessarily introducing compatibility issues, but introducing assurance of security. Now, the program is continuing to evolve in 2018. The Wi-Fi Alliance has planned to augment the existing security protections for your network, and they're going to do it in a few ways. First of all, this year it will be updated to include mandatory protected management frame inclusion. So therefore, any devices that are certified as Wi-Fi certified with the new WPA2 update later this year are going to have to implement protected management frames. Protected management frames were introduced in 802.11w. It's sometimes also called management frame protection, a little different order. But the concept is that deauthentication frames, for example, won't be received from just any device based on spoofing a MAC address, but rather there is security included to make sure that it really comes from the device that it's claiming it comes from, preventing deauthentication attacks. And that's one example of the benefits of protected management frames. Second, WPA2 will be updated with enhanced validation of vendor security implementations to reduce the potential for vulnerabilities due to network misconfiguration and further safeguard managed networks with centralized authentication services. So consistency in how authentication is implemented. And finally, better consistency in network security configuration through standardized cryptographic suites for discrete security levels starting at 128-bit security. So these are all enhancements to WPA2 coming this year. But there's also a whole new WPA coming this year, WPA3. Now, let me point out, there is no new 802.11i. 802.11, I guess we'd be up to what, BI, if we wanted to keep the I? There's no 802.11i that's coming along to give us more security right now, at least at this moment. But WPA3 is going to add enhancements to what we're going to support in 802.11 by also adding other open standards that can give us better security. So first of all, in 2018, when WPA3 comes along, we'll have more resilient password-based authentication, even when users choose passwords that fall short of typical complexity recommendations. In other words, when someone uses a password like password, WPA3 will intensify this and help to generate stronger passphrases or pre-shared keys that will be protected against attacks. So that's a good thing. The second thing, simplified secure configuration and onboarding for devices with limited or no display interface. So what do you think that might be targeted at? Internet of Things, IoT type devices. Maybe, for example, that video camera that I just talked about from Meraki. It doesn't really have an interface to configure things. So therefore, as you can imagine, devices like that could benefit from secure configuration without having to have some type of an interface that you use to do that. Third thing is improved data privacy and open networks. So here's the thing, you go to a public hotspot that has no encryption, there's no security on it, this is a big concern. But with WPA3, we'll be able to use something like a Diffie-Hellman exchange. So we'll be able to do the same type of thing when you go to an HTTPS website, right? You may have noticed if you go to even Google now, it's at HTTPS and not HTTP. So we're using TLS, we're using encryption. And you didn't enter a password when you went to Google. Now you might have one cached for your Google account, but that's not what sets up the HTTPS encryption. That's done without you providing any password. It's based just on the server's certificate. The concept here is let's have security on an open network that doesn't necessarily require the user to log on, but gives them a single user encryption key for that network. Sounds like a great idea to me. We'll have to see exactly the details of how it's implemented as it comes along. And finally, they have stronger 192-bit cryptographic strength, which is good for government, defense, or high security environments, and it is aligned with the Commercial National Security Algorithm, or CNSA suite. So this is all coming along in WPA3 here in 2018. So you'll see devices that are WPA3 certified. Certainly, as the 802.11ax devices come out at the end of this year and next year, we'll probably be seeing those devices WPA3 certified. Now keep in mind that any device that has WPA3 support is going to have WPA2 support as well. It's going to be a transition window, kind of like we had WPA support while also having WPA2. For that matter, we had WEP support while having WPA support while having WPA2 support. Now, hopefully the transition will go a lot faster this time, moving us forward into a more secure future than the long, drawn-out transition from WPA to WPA2, as we actually still have some devices out there that are WPA only. So this is what's new from the Wi-Fi Alliance. A lot of great stuff coming this year. Now, there's one more thing I want to talk to you about today, and I don't want to keep you too long and run this too long in this particular episode, but one of the things that came up at WLPC, I had conversations with dozens of people, and probably the most common conversation that I had was, hey, Tom, I'm going to be applying for the CWNE soon, and I'm wondering what's most important in that application. Well, let me give you the simple answer to that. All of it. Now, what I mean by that is the WPA application, the CWNE application is really a package. It's all of that application that displays you to the CWNE board members. So when you submit that application, your certifications with CWNP says to them, they passed all of their exams with CWNP, CWNA, CWSP, CWAP, CWDP. And then your proof of job experience, 3 years of enterprise wireless LAN experience. That says they've worked in the industry. Then you've got endorsements. So you have endorsements possibly from other CWNEs, from managers, from technical coworkers, and so forth. That says something about the people that know you and that they testify to your knowledge of Wi-Fi and your ethics. Then you have your essays. This tells us, can this person explain to us a problem, how they resolved it, and where the knowledge from the CWNP process helped them resolve those problems. And then you have your publication requirement. This is videos, blogs, white papers, books, any kind of publication like that that you may have been involved in, even internal documentation in your company, as long as you can make that available to us, such as describing how to configure a wireless network within your company. These types of things can fall into that category. Now, as you can see, this is a package. But actually, we're still not done because we also have your outside certifications, non-CWNP certifications, like a certification from Aruba, or Cisco, or Ruckus, or Aerohive, or certifications from CompTIA, certifications like Certified Ethical Hacker, which have wireless components to them and networking components to them. The point is, all of this comes together to form the package. And your package needs to be strong when you submit your CWNE application. Make sure you look at it like it's something very important. Pay attention to typos in your essays. Pay attention to accuracy in terminology in those essays, because the whole package is presenting you to that board. You don't get the opportunity to sit before them and present yourself to them. The package is the presentation. So what's the most important part? All of it. Make sure you're putting together a complete, full package that says, here's who I am as a wireless professional, and here's the knowledge that I have, and this is why I deserve this credential. Yes, I've passed all the CWNP certifications, but look at all of these other things that prove that I am one of the elite wireless LAN engineers in the world today. Well, at this point, I'd like to thank you for joining us for this edition of the Wireless LAN News Desk. And we'll see you again next week. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. You can click on the bell in order to be notified when new videos are posted at CWNP TV on YouTube. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next week.